Thank you, Lester and Corla. On Sunday night in Cahir, County Tipperary, a women's history group put up 24 temporary plaques to celebrate the forgotten women of the town. They dedicated one plaque to the banished women of Cahir and placed it at a spot on the square where women and girls were picked up to be sent to mother and baby homes. It reads, "Banished women, we waited here to be taken to the mother and baby homes. The shame was not theirs, it was ours." They reminded us that this happened in every town and village. Church and state colluded to incarcerate women for being pregnant at a time without access to contraception, sex education, or reproductive rights, sometimes for being pregnant as a result of rape and abuse. More importantly, this plaque reminds us that this is not in the past. The pain, the shame, and the injustice is still with us. Survivors, adoptees, and their families are living with the pain, suffering, and doubt. The actions of the Irish state and church still have a real living impact today. This is not just in the past, it is in the present. Regrettably, government and religious orders are too quick to assign these matters to history, to say it was a different time, to make apologies and wait for the news cycle to move on. Last week's RT Investigates on illegal adoptions clearly demonstrated how this is not just in the past. The same system which locked women away, covered up mass deaths of babies and children, and facilitated the illegal adoptions and falsification of birth certs. Just as the rights of mothers were trampled on, the rights of adoptees were ignored from the day they were born. These human rights abuses continue to this day, by virtue of them still being denied access to their identity, access to the most basic and profound information about themselves. On the RT Investigates programme, the people affected explained how their worlds were turned upside down when they were told. Brave adoptees shared their stories with us. They described being refused information about themselves, receiving redacted files. In the words of Brian, it's very simple for somebody to get a piece of Tipp-Ex and white something out, but they don't actually realise what they're whiting out. It's vital information for somebody. The cruel and obstructive response to adoptees needs to end. My gratitude to Deputy Kathleen Funchion for bringing forward this bill is only surpassed by my disgust at the government for failing to do so for so long, for failing again to bring justice for survivors. Since 1864, all birth certificates have been publicly available, except in one case. Adopted people are the only people in Ireland who are denied the ability to retrieve their own birth certificate. Agents of the state continue to discriminate today, not in the past. Institutions and individuals in control of adopted people's files, including TUSLA and the Adoption Authority of Ireland, refuse to inform adopted people of their name at birth or to provide adopted people with their unredacted adoption early life file. It is outrageous, a further example of a callous state determined to cover up and deny the rights of survivors. The continuing refusal to tell adopted people their name at birth or to provide them with their publicly registered birth certificate is, in the view of human rights experts, unconstitutional and contrary to GDPR. Under EU law, which is supreme over any conflicting Irish law, a person's name is their personal data. They have a right under Article 15 GDPR to access it. There is no ambiguity. The only way this can be restricted is by clear legislation that is necessary and a proportionate measure in a democratic society. The withholding from adopted people of their name at birth does not meet these requirements. It is arbitrary, discriminatory, unnecessary, and cruel. Governments and departments continue to perpetuate adoption myths, as Claire McGettrick, co-founder of Adoption Rights Alliance, labels them. These myths attempt to undermine the cases made by adopted persons and even try to pitch adoptees against their biological parents. The most common myth is that adopted persons cannot be provided with their birth certs because it would infringe on their natural mother's privacy. This presumes that it is only adopted people who want their personal information, and mothers are fearful that their adult children may try to contact them. It does not recognise that mothers often seek out their adopted children, or that some adopted people have no interest or desire in finding out about their natural parents. Only 5% of natural mothers who registered in the National Adoption Contact Preference Register indicated that they wish to have no contact with their daughter or son. The reality is that most natural mothers have not been given the opportunity to express their views on this. But when Philomena Lee spoke out in 2013, she inspired others to come forward, finding the strength to overcome decades of secrecy. Successive governments have no interest in this nuance, and some religious orders obstruct mothers who seek out their children. Church and state are still deciding what is best for people affected without asking them, and continuing to prevent access to information. A culture of secrecy and shame still surrounds these adoptions, but the same secrecy and shame of the 1940s and 50s continues today. In government departments denying access to information, in the treatment of adopted people, and in the lives of mothers still scarred from abuses decades ago. This is not in the past, it is in the present. There are solutions if we want. Legal opinion from leading experts in the area, including Dr. Maeve O'Rourke, Mairead Enright and Professor Conor O'Mahony, outline potential mechanisms to balance the rights of adopted people and their parents, to balance the right to privacy as well as the right to your own information. This is standard practice in other countries and can't be used as an excuse anymore. We need processes that provide personal data access without unnecessary and arbitrary state coercion. We have to put adoptees, natural mothers and survivors at the heart of this conversation. The overriding priority of the state should be to pursue justice based on their lived experiences. Instead, we often see the government paying lip service to survivors but continually ignoring their pleas. We know adoptee rights groups, survivor groups and their allies are seeking the passing of this legislation. We have all received messages from constituents in support. In the words of those emails, we have failed adoptees for too long. We need to make it right. This is not about party or politics. This is about doing the right thing by people long denied the most basic knowledge of themselves. As the law progresses through the House, it must be informed by further engagement with those affected and their advocates. I'm confident the Deputy Function will do so, and myself and my colleagues in the Social Democrats will also continue to work with those groups to do our best to represent them. This bill helps address one injustice of the systematic abuse and illegal treatment of so many Irish people. It is one step to right the wrongs of the past, which have very real impacts in the present. Adoption in Ireland was generally forced and frequently illegal. This cruel system mistreated the mothers and obliterated the identities of thousands of adopted people. The government and church leaders are eager to tell us we have moved on, that things are different. Unfortunately, the treatment of survivors and adoptees in recent months tell a very different story. The Irish state is obliged to remedy these abuses rather than continuing to unjustifiably and unlawfully deny people their identity. It's important to note, I think, in relation as well to the RT Investigates, that although these stories echo the story of so many adopted people in Ireland, this legislation does not apply to those adoptees. The falsification of birth certificates is a separate issue. They are not legally adopted, so there is no possible argument that the law prevents them from being given their files. There is no need for legislation to give these people their files. The Minister's announcement yesterday, I think, is nothing more than an unnecessary delay tactic, something we've seen enough of. People don't need someone to examine issues arising and propose next steps. These adoptees don't have birth certs, only false ones. It is not complicated. These are crimes. These records need to go to the guards and court to engage an inquiry immediately. No more delays. People need their full records now, then there can be an inquiry. And just briefly in relation to, Minister, you're saying that the government won't be voting down the Sinn Féin bill today, but quite likely won't be acting to bring that forward quickly. I think, we saw that last week as well with the Social Democrats' motion to extend the life of the Commission. And this kind of, playing politics with, all issues, I think, is cynical, and I don't think that broadly people appreciate it at all, but particularly in relation to an issue like this, I think we need to put all of that aside. And, you're playing with people's lives when you do that, and to kind of cynically not vote it down, but then do nothing about it, just adds further insult to injury. I think it's completely unnecessary, particularly in relation to issues like this.
Deputy. Now moving on to Solidarity People Before Profit.